Kira POV. The hallway was pitch black. That was odd. How could they turn off all the lights on such a special day? It was my 13th birthday. I was the alpha heir and my wolf has just awakened, waiting for its time to emerge. My sight was great, but as my wolf was still young, it wasn't matured enough to pierce the darkness. Who's there? I called. Daddy, the lights are off. But my dad wasn't nearby. He was in a meeting at the Pack Grand Hall. My friends were all in the living room, dancing and squealing with delights at the clown's jokes. I was missing the fun. Why did I come out here again? Someone called my name. The voice sounded like Zoe Faust's. That was why I left my party. Zoe was a good friend of the family. She was from the line of the Betas and married into a warrior's family. Her husband died long ago, leaving her with a daughter who was inside enjoying herself right now. Mrs. Faust. I called out. No answer came. Daddy told me to be nice and respectful to her. As future Luna and leader of the Spring Moon Pack, good manners were a must. Apart from that, after my mom died, Zoe was in and out of our house a lot. Daddy said she was very helpful. I was too little to remember how she helped. The sound of my cheerful friends had gone faint because I was too far from the living room now. I grew irritated, telling myself that strange things like these were the reasons I didn't like the woman. Not just the fact that I caught her sneaking into Dad's bedroom twice. I turned to go back to my party when I felt movement. Before I could ask who was there, something hit me on the back of my neck with such force. It burned like scorching hot iron. The pain made me dizzy, causing me to lose balance. I reached out, trying to grab hold of something, but all I felt was empty space. Then came another push. I felt the force of someone's hands this time. Much bigger than me. I heard their grunt as they shoved me off the rails and sent me falling from the top floor, which was 6-story high. I screamed and thrashed. Then someone caught me, but I kept screaming as they pulled me back to safety. Their voice was soothing at first, but soon grew impatient. Wake up, Kira. They shook me roughly. I opened my eyes but kept thrashing and trying to grab hold of something. Someone was with me on the bed, holding both my arms and shaking me. Wake up. I began to relax once I realized I was awake. My vision was blurred by the sun's ray pouring into the bedroom. Shame crept in once I realized where I was. I was on my bed in the main pack house. No longer an heir, but a grown she-wolf and co-leader of the Spring Moon. Liam still had a grip on my arms. His tone became gentler when he spoke next. It's me, your alpha, your husband. It's all right. I was still panting as I looked all around me. 10 years had passed since that terrible incident that cursed my young wolf back to sleep. If the last 2 days were any indication, the nightmares had returned. Liam's grip softened on my shoulder. I knew without a doubt that I definitely screamed out loud. This made me too embarrassed to look at him. It's just a bad dream, he said, smoothing my arm before releasing me. Yes. A recurring bad dream. One that stopped a year ago when he and I were arranged to wed. I thought it was gone for good. Apparently not. Thankfully, Liam was speaking and barely noticed my embarrassment. I was going to let you sleep and rest well 'cause it's a big day for us. He stood up. But you seem in distress, so I had to wake you up. The words big day got my attention. I looked at the time. It's past 7. Are you kidding me, Liam? I began scrambling out of bed. Our guests will start arriving at 8:30. You could have woken me up much sooner. He should have woken me up before the nightmare began. I briefly wondered what time he got home last night but pushed the thought aside. Irrelevant for now. There were more important things to deal with. It was our wedding anniversary. Not only that, all the packs on the Eastside were commemorating 1 year of peace. My pack would host alphas and dignitaries of the other 3 main packs. Well, too, because the Autumn Moon's alpha may not show up. He was the bag egg of the Eastside. The only troublesome, evil one amongst us. At least, that was the rumor. I'd never met him. Today won't be a simple affair. The party was an opportunity to make friends and strengthen partnerships with others. I had been Luna of the Spring Moon Pack for 15 months right after my dad died. Being female, I needed these types of networking to show my people and counterparts that I had allies. That way, they would think twice before messing with my pack. Liam remained nonchalant as I rushed towards the bathroom. Relax, Luna. He swung a bathrobe over his shoulder. Our people are taking care of everything. We just need to show up. I ignored him and went for a quick shower. What type of excuse or impression would I be making if I arrived late for my own renewal of vows? Pack members and visiting alphas would surely talk. Already, some seem to find a reason to say things like, "This is why females shouldn't rule a pack." Oh, she's just pretending. Liam is alpha. I'd heard and felt the whispers and vibes from some many times. Not only that, hosting all those other alphas and dignitaries was a great honor. It meant that the spring moon was a symbol of peace and unity on this east side. In 10 minutes, I'd showered and sent for my stylist. Liam was also getting dressed now. As I waited for Saul, my stylist, I began to feel like something would go wrong today. It was a waning moon, so Arya, my wolf, was hibernating, as usual. So why had the nightmares returned? All these while, I'd lived quietly, doing my duties to the pack. Was that about to change? Are you all right? Liam asked. You had a bad dream last night too. Yeah, I'm all right, I nodded, forcing a smile. I stared his way and told myself to feel lucky that I married the most handsome guy in the pack. And he was loving too. Sometimes. You're worrying too much about the anniversary. I think you're under a lot of stress. He came over and smoothed my back. A faint smell of some fruit wafted past my nostrils. That was not part of his scent. Did you eat oranges or what? His hand froze for a brief moment as he hesitated. Something flashed in his eyes that was unrecognizable. Then he nodded quickly with a short laugh. Yeah. I went to the kitchen for a glass of water. Taylor was eating some, so I took one. I was about to ask what time he came home last night when a soft knock sounded. Saul was here. He had only 20 minutes to get me ready for our special day. Come in, I called out. As he entered and began working, Liam returned to getting dressed too. I was not always comfortable with him being in the room when I dolled up. Before he became my mate and husband, he was my crush. Someone I fantasized about. Someone who made me laugh shyly when he's around. Now, we were a couple, running the pack together. I was thinking of old times and marveling at how much had changed when he finished. He started to leave the room as he said, I need a quick drink, love. Need to feel prepared. I'll be right back. My husband had not returned from his quick drink. It was a few minutes before 8:30. I couldn't call his cell phone because he left it in the bedroom, so I sent an Omega to go get him. They didn't find him at the mini bar where I assumed he would be. Maybe he'd gone into his study to do a bit of work. It was hard to understand how a playboy could so quickly turn serious about life in general. He became a workaholic right after we got married. Whenever I thought about it, I felt proud of myself that I'd inspired such a good change in him. Not everyone could turn a ladies' man into a serious businessman. However, I got frustrated sometimes with the fact that took the business far more seriously than our marriage. Granted, ours was an arranged union, but I expected to be a priority in his life. I was his mate and wife. And today was very special. How could he think to work? With my pretty dress and makeup, I left the room to go fetch him from his study by myself, snatching his suit jacket on the way out. I'd taken a few steps when he appeared from the corner of the hallway. He saw the disapproval in my eyes and smiled. I was on my way, babe. No work or business today, Liam, you promised me. He came to kiss me on the cheek. Sorry. Won't happen again. But you know running a pack isn't easy, Luna Kira. What does that mean? He made these type of comments occasionally. It always touched a nerve. You sound like you're running the pack alone. A weird expression crossed his features, but he quickly smiled again and said, You have to admit, I do more. Before I could reply, he dropped another light kiss on my lips. Just pulling your legs, Kiki. Come on, let's go renew our vows. I found it charming whenever he shut me up with a kiss. And he always did that after such comments. I had a pack to run and refused to fight with my husband over silly things, so I always let it go quickly. I was Luna. Not just the co-leader, but the one with alpha blood between the two of us. While he was firstborn son of a warrior, I inherited the pack and the winery from my late father, the former alpha. In fact, if not for pressure from the elders, I would probably be single still and ruling the spring moon as Luna Kirigray, sole leader of the pack. As we reached the entrance, the troubling thoughts moved to the back of my mind. My beloved uncle came to meet us. Good morning, Luna and Alpha. Your guests are here. The chief elder is waiting to speak the blessings. Moments later, Liam and I stood before an older werewolf, exchanging our vows afresh. After that, the customary blessings was spoken upon us like the first time. The grand hall was packed with people. Alpha's dignitaries, well-wishers and prominent pack members. More people were still arriving. I gave the welcome address of thanks. Then Liam and I danced. After the dance, he began giving a toast, when someone strode in. The person's presence seemed to fill the vast place. He walked like he was entering a bar that he owned. He looked about Liam's age. From his bearing, I knew he was not just any dignitary. This was an alpha by blood and rank. Although I'd never seen him before. The hall went silent. His footsteps were the only sound, though inaudible to an ordinary wolf. His general aura was entirely foreign and imposing. There was only one alpha whom I had never met on our side of the country. And that was the notorious, prodigal, lichened son of Alpha Ralph of the Autumn Moon. I didn't need to be told that this was him. My uncle confirmed by going over to offer greetings. Alpha knocks, before our very eyes. Welcome. We didn't think you'd make it. They clasped hands like old friends as my husband called out a greeting too. Welcome, Alpha Knox. I raised a brow at Liam, but he ignored me as the new arrival returned his greeting with a smirk and a nod. Then, fierce purple eyes moved to me and his smirk gradually faded. An iridescent sparkle emanated from those odd eyes, causing something to stir deep inside me. It felt like Arya, my wolf, had just moved inside me. No, that wasn't possible. She should be sleeping at this time of the month because of my secret condition. I felt confused and frightened by these feelings. Quickly, I looked away from the strange beast of a male, terrified that someone could catch me staring at another during my wedding anniversary. I disliked the guy immediately. Why did he stare at me like that? I kept my eyes on Liam, who was now giving his toast. He finished in a moment, and the hall erupted in thunderous claps and howls. Then he took a sip from his glass before lowering himself to the chair beside me. I maintained my poise, smiling at my husband like a loving wife should. The temptation to ask him about our newcomer was strong. But I overcame it, telling myself that it was best to keep my focus off of the stranger. People stopped clapping as a female elder began to give a toast. Then Liam reached for my hand to squeeze it lovingly. Theirs is a beautiful match indeed, said the elder. Liam's phone made a Z sound. I gave him a disapproving look because I knew it was work. Just a peek, he pleaded silently, then let go of my hand to reach into his pocket. When he brought out the cell phone, something fell out. A small piece of cloth. Red and silky. A curious color and a weird fabric for a handkerchief, I thought. We bent down at the same time to pick it up. I reached it first. Lifting it up, I held it out to see what it was. Hanging on my index finger was a woman's undies. A G-string. Knox POV Luna Kirigray. Wife and maid of Alpha Liam Rudd. A 23-year-old woman who was unavailable. Married. From the panties hanging on her finger and the look on her face, it was clear that she was having a busy life, indeed. Moments ago, when I walked in and our eyes met, my wolf growled. Mate, calling out to her. But she'd looked away. I tried to do the same now, looking everywhere else but at her. I failed. She'd acted like she was deaf to her mate's call. Or did she not hear? No, that couldn't be right. She was pretending. Which was understandable because this was bizarre. How could we be fated? All of her attention was now on the blonde werewolf who was her husband in Alpha. A dignitary from the summer moon stood in front of me, talking. I tried my hardest to pay attention and offer the appropriate response. Two could play this game, though not for long. Because my focus wavered again, returning to Luna Kira. Her expression was picture of revulsion now as her husband snatched the panties from her fingers. He gave her a flirty smile, making me desperately curious about what his excuse would be. As a lichen, my senses were far superior to everyone else's here, so I trained my ears in their direction, unable to stop myself. We have to be careful, love. Alpha Liam told her. I hope no one saw that. What do you mean you hope no one saw? Kira replied with a shaky voice. I saw it. She sounded unsure of herself. The whole conversation was too confusing, yet I refused to tune them out. Would you? Deborah from the Summer Moon asked me. I had no idea what she just said apart from that last bit, but I nodded, replying. I'll think about it. I guess that's a good response. I'll tell my brother. Could you excuse me for a bit? I said and began moving towards the counter lined with drinks. I stole another look at my woman of interest. Her husband's gaze roamed about to make sure no one was looking at them. He nearly caught me, but I averted my eyes swiftly. The two continued their quiet argument. I swear, Kira, I don't know how that ended up in my pocket, he said to her. I'll ask Vanessa or the other laundry guys. But what the hell does it matter? It's yours, isn't it? I have never worn a G-string in my life, Liam. I don't own one. Let's focus on our party, he remarked curtly, then leaned over to kiss her. She turned away. My stomach rolled in a way that it had never done before. It felt like I was about to be sick. This could not be happening to me. I should not have come here. They weren't even expecting me and didn't want me here because they feared me. Apart from the wars and all the packs I conquered, I was a lycan by virtue of my mother's superior genes. Our kinds were considered evil and cursed. We were hated and feared for our unimaginable strength, senses and lifespan. We could not procreate. Except with a fated mate. Which was a rare and precious thing to find. We were freaks to these ordinary werewolves. It didn't matter that these ones considered me hybrid, half lycan, half werewolf. They were all still wary of me. This discrimination and hatred was why I ruled with an iron fist. I'd conquered lands, swallowed up smaller packs, and was proud to have earned the respect of members of my pack. Everyone in all parts of the region and the world knew not to mess with the autumn moon. But here I was, at a wedding anniversary that I decided to attend at the last minute, feeling like I would puke in front of all these people. My first instinct was right. I should not have come. Boredom was to blame. That plus my betas advised that I make an effort to be cordial with these people. What did I do now? I looked around, noting all of the young and beautiful women in the hall. I should have been bound to one of these instead of a mated female with marital problems. The worst part was the fact that she was pretending not to feel our bond. My blood warmed at this thought. How dare her ignore me? Not even a simple look of acknowledgement. Whether she hated my kind or not, she didn't have to be discourteous. Her husband was now leading her to the center of the hall for what should be their second dance. I could sense her anger and hurt, but she was keeping her cool really well. Appearances, huh? She could acknowledge me while remaining poised, too, but she wouldn't, huh? I began to wonder about the full story behind the G-string but quickly decided that was none my business. Clearly, Kira Gray lacked good sense of judgment. Her choice of mate was the proof. A stunning couple, aren't they? Felix Gray interrupted my raging thoughts. Most arranged marriages look like that on the outside, I replied. How long had he been standing beside me? Not important. Pouring the drink down my throat, I made a decision to end this infuriating game as I said. Excuse me while I go steal a dance with the Luna. I had to confront her immediately. We must deal with this problem quickly. Others moved aside, making way as I approached the couples on the dance floor. Alpha Knox, her husband said with a forced smile. My wolf gave a vicious snarl inside me, its claws nearly forcing themselves out. I took a deep calming breath to gain control. Can I borrow her for a bit? I said simply. One dance. Oh, sure, he replied, holding out her hand to me. Kira looked horrified. Clearly, she didn't want me near because of how she felt about me. I understood this. Hell, I felt her distress, but this couldn't be helped. Her eyes wavered, and she looked like she was being betrayed when her husband placed her hand in mine. She wouldn't refuse. That would be bad manners for a Luna to refuse her guest. Well-bred. Well-behaved. Cared a lot about what her people thought. My arm went around her waist, causing my wolf to calm instantly. She stiffened, then began to relax as I led the dance. You and I haven't really been introduced, she said. All confident, casual, and Luna-like. I'm Alpha Nox of the Autumn Moon, I replied simply. You know me. And I know you. Now, how long before we stop pretending that there's nothing between us? Kira POV at his words, I stopped dancing. Or tried to. His powerful arms and body kept moving, urging us both to the rhythm of the music. What does that mean? What could there possibly be between us? I looked around, afraid that someone might have heard. I considered forcing him to stop the dance. Thankfully, nobody had their eyes on us. He could refuse and it was better not to attract attention, so I moved with him. I would think you're too sophisticated for games, Luna. What games? I have no idea what you're talking about, I replied calmly. He looked down at me and arched a brow. Hold on, you think there's something between us because I looked at you? Everyone looked at you when you walked in, Alpha Nox. Does that mean you have something going on with them? He frowned as though confused, then said in a low voice. I'm talking about you and me. He was almost inaudible. I'm talking about what you felt when you laid eyes on me for the first time. I tried to stop dancing again, but he kept moving insistently. You don't know what I felt, but I'll tell you. I wondered who you were and whether you were invited here. Denial, pretense, I see we're getting nowhere. He seemed irritated, which confused me. Being in his arms was making me feel sinful and bothered. My knees felt weak at the feel of his body against mine. That was bad enough. The fact that he knew how I felt and was blatantly calling me out was upsetting. But I was determined to deny the disturbance in my emotions. What would pack members say if they heard this conversation? More importantly, what was this bittersweet stirring inside me? I didn't feel anything while dancing with my own husband moments ago. Maybe because of our issues. We hadn't resolved the incident with the undies yet. I wondered how we would. But I was the Luna. I must maintain a calm outward appearance. I must remain in control. I've heard about you, I said with a forced smile. Although no one mentioned that you're full of yourself. As you know, I have a home and a pack to run, so forgive me for not having the time to entertain you, Alpha Nox. Look, I understand you're married, he replied in the same low, calm baritone while we danced. But burying your head in the sand does not change the facts. These things are out of our hands, you and I. We can't help what we feel, Kira. We should talk about it and try to resolve it. Resolve? Now he was being blatantly sexually suggestive. I was going to respond, but my mouth hung open as a gentle thumb brushed the flesh above my waist. That part of the dress had a small opening, so he just intentionally touched my bare flesh. My body reacted in a way it never had done before. It scared and enraged me. I want to stop dancing, I said curtly. He complied with my request but didn't let go until I stepped out of his arms. I turned around to leave and found Belle approaching with her eyes on the adulterous Alpha. Belle was Zoe's daughter. We had a few things in common. We both lost one parent too early in life. Mine was my mother, hers was her father. As kids, we were best friends. That changed after my accident. Her mother was not my favorite person. Not because she had an affair with my dad, but because I blamed her for what happened to me that day. Hers was the voice I heard when I went out into the dark hallway and got attacked. I may have extended that distrust and dislike to her daughter, Belle. Because as she approached with her eyes on Nox, I wanted to bare my teeth. Thank Goddess for control. What was wrong with me? She now worked on the business side of the park, which meant she worked close to Liam. I must be cordial with her always. Alpha Nox, you're out of a partner, she said with a smile. His reply was a tight lip. I wondered if she sensed the tension between the man and I. When I assessed her expression, I decided that was a no. She seemed unsuspecting and focused on the handsome lichen. Her eyes ran down the length of him as she came to stand before us. A highly unpleasant feeling rose inside me while I watched her, making me want to kick myself. The girl was single unlike me. Perhaps she was even ready to settle down. She, unlike me, had a right to leer at our guest. Hi, Luna, she smiled my way like she'd just seen me. Congratulations again. Thank you, I said. Our guest is in the mood to dance some more. Good thing I'm here then, she beamed up at Nox, moving closer to him. I couldn't shake the feeling of disgust at the sight. I had to leave and go find Liam quickly. I reminded myself that Belfast was the only close friend I actually remembered. Apart from the fact that we're the same age, she was one of the few people who treated me like just another she-wolf rather than the privileged heir of Alpha Castiel. She was not my enemy. Why was I feeling hateful towards her now? Knox's eyes remained on me as I walked away. Ignoring him, I looked around the hall for my husband. No sign of him again. My heart was still racing. And it had nothing to do with my marital problem. I went over to the bar and the servant quickly came to get me a drink. With force, I kept my eyes away from the strange Alpha dancing with Belfaust. Liam still hadn't returned to the grand hall when I finished my drink. So I set out to go look for him. Getting through the people to the nearest exit was a chore. Not because of the crowd, but because I had to stop every now and then to shake someone's hand, accept their congratulations, exchange hugs and pleasantries. Soon, I was out of the party and heading towards my husband's study. It was as I entered the quiet hallway that I felt a presence behind me. I didn't mind it. Didn't plan on turning around until someone whispered my name. Kira. When I looked back, it was Knox. I was angered by his audacity and the goosebumps that rose on my skin at the look in his eyes. They were glittering as he advanced with purposeful strides. Alpha Knox, what are you doing here? This place is out of bounds to guests. I assure you, I have the right to be here, he replied. Leave this instant. He was a few feet away. The light in his eyes, the soft, low growl coming out of him should make me wary. Instead it caused my knees to go weak. Like a prey in front of its predator. I was afraid of him but anticipated his closeness with my entire being. I considered calling out to someone. But as I opened my mouth to do so, his lips crashed onto mine, his taunts filling my mind. How about now, Kira? Do you feel what I feel? Kira POV. The world stopped when his lips touched mine. I was no longer Kira Grey of the spring moon. Neither was I wife and mate to Alpha Liam. I was no one but a woman ready to be claimed by a powerful lichen beast. Not even his taunts could bring me back to my senses as his fangs caressed my lips. My body was at his command. Before I knew it, I was sandwiched between him and the wall as his tongue tangled with mine. Then he began to slow down, his lips freeing mine. Only then did my senses slowly return. What the hell was I doing? Letting another alpha kiss me in my own home? At my wedding anniversary. I was appalled with myself as I pushed him off of me. His brow creased, and his eyes narrowed as he murmured thoughtfully. Something's wrong with your wolf. Get out, I barked breathlessly. This is an assault. You would love a war, won't you? Get out. The fact that he just spoke my secret out loud was not as threatening as what he just made me do. Apart from pack elders and Liam, who were sworn to secrecy, no one knew of my sleeping wolf. I refused to dignify Knox's words by commenting on it, so I repeated. Get out. Something's wrong, Kay. How dare you touch me? Get out. He balled both fists on his sides, tightening his lips as if holding back on speaking, but he didn't move. His expression grew stoic and hard to read. He probably didn't care if someone saw us. Maybe his plan was to get caught with me like this. If that was the case, then I was right. He really wanted war. To conquer and take the spring moon. You don't care, do you? I'm the one who's married and not you. I'm not trying to get you into trouble. He trailed off with a deep frown. As if he was only just realized something. I turned away from him, unsure what to do with myself or where to go. I was supposed to be looking for Liam. We were supposed to be addressing the G-string problem. Instead, I was here getting cozy in another man's arms. What right did I have now to question Liam about what fell out of his pocket? If you don't return to the party, I'll call out for the warriors. Or you could let your wolf force me out by herself, he suggested. His face was so serious now that I didn't know if he was mocking me, but one thing was clear now. He knew my secret. I was alarmed but pretended like what he just said had no consequence. I began to head back into the party but stopped because he was at my heels. What would someone think if they saw us go back inside together? I never would have worried about that if not for the fact that I let him kiss me. My heart raced with guilt. I know all about you, I pointed a warning finger at him. I know you're a conqueror. A land thief. If you think you can steal my pack by sowing discord in my home, you have another thing coming. I don't need to sow discord in your home to get what I want, Kira. Tell me, has Liam explained where the panties came from? Fates, he saw that? I was appalled. Someone else must have. Oh, goddess. Then came a sound. Footsteps. I turned around sharply and began heading towards the direction of the main house where the sound was coming from. Look, we should sit down and talk, all right, he said in a softer tone. I'm not trying to conquer the spring moon. I kissed you, B. That's enough from you, Alpha Knox. I barked under my breath. Leave me the hell alone. Liam appeared at the end of the hall right then. He was straightening his suit jacket but stopped at the sight of us. My heart jolted to my throat. I felt like he would know I'd cheated on him by merely looking at me. Hey babe, what's going on? Is everything okay? He hastened towards me, eyes moving from me to the lichen behind me. I was looking for you. Where did you go? I had to take a phone call, he replied. And then deal with an urgent message. This was the part where I complained that work was prohibited today, but he went on speaking. Whether he worked or not felt irrelevant now. Alpha Knox, why are you here? He asked. I tried to keep my breathing even, not daring to look at the source of my trouble. If I did, maybe Liam would know something was up with the both of us. I was hoping to discuss business with the Luna, he replied confidently. But it appears she's not in the mood. His voice didn't even shake. I see. Liam remarked. Then I noticed a thin drop of liquid sliding down his neck as if he'd just taken a quick shower and didn't dry himself properly. My Kira wouldn't be in the mood to talk business today, Alpha Knox, he said, at the same time, moving close to place a hand around my waist. Knox's eyes followed the movement, his face going blank. Then Liam leaned over in an attempt to drop a kiss on my lips. I moved away. Not because of our unresolved issues. There was a stranger here whom I should be putting up appearances for. Liam's face hardened at my reaction. Then his nose flared. I quickly began to speak. Alpha Knox, why don't you get back to the party? We'll talk business another day. He didn't move. Please, I added. As he turned away, I did the same in the opposite direction. Liam followed behind me silently till we were close to my uncle's quarters. Then he asked, What's that all over you? What's what? I returned without looking at him. You reek of another male, Kira.